Happy Friday, Junior. Today is my I Love Learning podcast with a very special person. I don't know if you all know Ginger Craddock, but she is here today. And Ginger really focuses on, she's the director of client success, but she really focuses on executive coaching. And I am so delighted to have her here today to introduce to you her passion and really what she's focused on. So, Ginger, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Gina. From the first time I met you, my heart intersected with your vision to help and encourage others. So, thank you for inviting me to be a part.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Why don't you share kind of a little bit about yourself and what you're passionate about?
Sure. So, when I think about what I'm most passionate about, it is to expand the mountaintop. So, can you think back to that? If your audience can think back to that childhood game where it was like king of the mountain, whoever's on the top of the mountain, get there first. And then you try to knock everybody off the top of the mountain and climb up there yourself. And you're exactly right. My heart is for others and for people and to help them be successful because
Mm,
I've been the recipient of that gift from others. And so it's so
mm,
exciting to pay it forward. So my philosophy and my passion is
mm,
how can I help expand the mountaintop of leadership to help others lead, serve, and give? Because
mm,
our world is filled with people who want to make a difference and
mhm,
they're not sure where to start. And
mhm.
oftentimes it's the encouragement of another person that helps them get going or helps them keep climbing the mountain of their passion, whatever they're working on.
Oh, goodness, Ginger, that's so true. You said, leading and serving others is so important. And, just yesterday I had somebody message me on LinkedIn and saying they were just feeling pretty bummed out. And just think about the opportunities that we all have each and every day at any moment that we can choose to be kind and serve someone else. So I can really appreciate that. So with this idea of like leading people in this direction, has there ever been a time like in your journey that there might have been a roadblock or something that you faced that maybe kind of prevented you from getting there or maybe helped you get over that hurdle?
Oh, that's a great question. So, what I have the benefit of being a woman of a certain age. So, I've seen
Mhm,
several decades.
mhm,
And what I found is it's not one or two hurdles, but that
mhm,
life, I wonder if each person can kind of think back. Are
mhm,
there places where they felt discouraged or devalued or
mm,
maybe they experienced disillusionment in something? I find that that's part of being human. And
mm.
so those obstacles of discouragement or disillusionment, or when was a time that something hurt your heart? If
Oh
something
man.
hurts my
Mm,
heart, oh my
mhm,
goodness, my instinct is to draw back and protect and to stop. And so that can I found that could be one of the biggest obstacles for me personally is if
mm,
something penetrates my heart. And so
mm,
working through whatever penetrated my heart, what could I learn from it? What could I do better? And then are there parts of it that I need to discard? Just once I've done this
mhm,
work and then being healthy and whole to move on. And so I think
mm,
those patterns of working through discouragement, disillusionment, hurt heart, I think those are necessary tools. And it's not one and done. We keep growing and learning how to work through those
mm,
things. And those things I have found are what have actually helped me mature, grow, be better, be more empathetic, be a better
mm,
leader. It's
mhm.
actually the commingling of the struggles and the successes that I think foster the strongest leaders and foster resilience, compassion, empathy that's needed.
Wow. I mean, you really touched on that. Like, these things are not something that is a one and done, right? I mean, it's like a daily. I mean, it's like every other hour, right? And but some of us have really gone through some really, really tough times. And it's one of those things. It's like sometimes how do you move forward? I mean, can you tell us, like, I think that's the part that really is hard for individuals, like someone, you had a child die. I mean, something very, very significant in your life, or a close family member, or you lost your job. A lot of people, and in the trucking industry, there's been a lot of layoffs. I mean, something so meaningful. How do you overcome that? Like, how do you help someone overcome the impossible where you're so deep in this broken heart? How do you go forward?
That's probably one of the most important questions that any one of us could answer.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't have any credibility to answer that question
Mhm.
had I not at an early age been impacted by some really difficult circumstances. And the reality is, every person has some type of really difficult obstacle that they've overcome. And kind of
Mhm.
what I touched on just a moment ago, as I worked through that,
Mhm.
then that ultimately became my motivation. And so, just a little snapshot
Mm.
in a in a in a decade from the time I was 14 until I was 24, had one really big event happen after
Mhm.
another, with my dad being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And just as a young
Mm.
teenager, my dad being so important to me as a
Mm.
young girl and a developing young woman. And he was my first business mentor. So not only was
Wow.
he my dad, but like, he's the one who sewed
Mm.
into me, Ginger, look at these business opportunities. You can be an entrepreneur. You can do this. You can do that. And so
Mm.
he cast that vision, and he was really
Mm.
my closest relationship growing up. And then to realize that he was not going to live to be an old man,
Wow.
that was
Mhm.
tough. And then in the midst of that, my brother, the youngest of three, died in a car wreck at when he was
Wow.
a senior in high school. And so not only to experience that as the sister,
Mhm.
but to watch
Mm.
my mom and dad navigate that tragedy. But
Mm.
out of that, as I worked through it and found my voice and I matured,
Mm.
my dad never complained. My
Wow.
dad my dad and my mom both still had hope and vision. They experienced
Mm.
the pain, but they pulled together. They realized they had other things. They had two daughters. They had their lives to live. And so out of that, that's where find joy in the journey came from, because
Wow.
that became my mantra. Because I realized, either I'm going to stop in pain and just
Mm.
curl up and quit. But something in me was like, my daddy didn't. My daddy was quadriplegic,
Uh,
and yet
yeah.
continued to be my positive vision casting daddy in the
Mhm.
midst of these big obstacles. And so he really, as he walked through suffering with character and perseverance, that's what set the course for my life as my example.
Wow.
So then I
Mhm.
did the Big Sur Marathon. It was my first full marathon,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't really properly trained for it. And my friend Jenny, who's like a real legit athlete, her daddy taught her to run from a young age. That was my daddy taught me business, not to run. And
Uh-huh.
she goes, Ginger, I'll help you do any first marathon. Just don't do. And she knew I wanted to do Big Sur. She goes,
Oh,
just
wow.
don't do Big Sur first. And I went, in true Ginger Craddock fashion, I'm like, well, I already signed up.
No, yeah.
And so we got to Hurricane Point on the day before the race, and my husband, the engineer, was like, Ginger, I don't think you've trained enough. I don't think you can do this. Like, Ginger, I'm scared for you. And I just looked at him and I'm like, Carl. And he goes, how are you going to do this? I don't think you can do this. And at the bottom of Hurricane Point, which is about halfway through Big Sur, I
Mm.
looked at my husband, and this is because of what I learned from my dad. I
Oh,
said, "Carl, I don't know, but whether I run up it, crawl up it, climb up it, I'm gonna get to the top of
wow.
Hurricane Point."
Mhm.
And my compassionate, empathetic husband said, "But are you gonna get to the top in time?"
Of course.
The rest of the story is, yes, I did, and I used the right
Wow.
amount of time, and I did it. So what I wanna say to the audience is, through your pain and through the lessons that you learn from it, you can do more than you think you can do. And not only
Absolutely.
that, when you're
Mhm.
climbing, bring others with you. Sometimes there will be people ahead of you, like my dad was ahead of me, mentoring me. Sometimes there will be people with you. I had my little running group that paced with me. But then I had to drop behind because I couldn't keep that, even the slowest pace, I couldn't keep that slowest pace up the hill.
Mhm.
But then
Mhm.
that's when I got in the zone and I just did me.
Mm.
And so sometimes we're ahead, sometimes we're in the middle, sometimes we're helping those behind us. And so I hope in that storytelling and in casting that vision
Mm.
for your audience, wherever their pain is, wherever their opportunity is, wherever they are in going up the mountain.
Absolutely. I love that your dad was your inspiration that was fundamental to you and who you are and kind of really where you wanted to be and set that context for you to really have an idea of why you wanted to do what you want to do. Because I think a lot of times people don't know they've lost that why or they don't know the why. So finding that why, finding that inspiration, no matter where you are on that path, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, Ginger. Thank you for sharing that. Do you find so that's you think about that, it seems like a long journey. So how do you keep that engagement or that enthusiasm like every day to be happy? And really what is it that wants you to continue to go down this path and help you want to learn and grow? Because you know, training for a marathon, right? It's really about the journey of that, right? I mean, yeah, there's obviously excitement when you finish, but there's something along that journey. So tell us like your journey, what engages you every day to be happy.
So, what I found in that process, my why was my dad passed at 48.
Wow.
So, leading up to as I matured, it's like, oh, this, if I only had this many more years, how would I live my life? Then,
Mm,
and so I did my first marathon, my first triathlon at 48.
wow.
And so my motivation was I get to take all the steps that my daddy didn't get to take. And
Aw.
so it's the curiosity, it's the desire to do something new and to realize not everybody has that opportunity. So
Mm,
um, to just don't wait to do whatever it is that you want to do. Take some type of action on it today. I shared with
mm.
you, did I share with you my friend Deanne ran with me so I realized I could run and I didn't quit?
Oh, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't quit because somebody came alongside of me and ran with me.
Got it.
Similarly, on the swimming, all the people
Mhm.
can swim well. And my coach realized Ginger's not putting her face in the water. Well, if you're going to swim a sprint triathlon, you have
Yeah.
to ideally be able to put your face in the water. He had me come back in the shallow end, get
Wow.
down on my knees. He was a children's pastor, so he knew what to do with
Okay.
grown ups. He said, Ginger, I want you just to get on your knees and I
Mhm.
want you to bend over and put your face in the water and just practice
Wow.
doing that until you get comfortable. So, whatever you have to do that big thing, it may be something really small to get started, like get somebody
Mhm.
to run with you or
Mm.
or get in the shallow end of the pool and practice putting your face in the water, whatever that looks like. Because when I was younger, I cared what others thought, so I wouldn't
Mm,
do my vision or what I really wanted to do.
mm.
I so wanted to do those things
Wow.
that I was willing. Like I
Mhm.
wasn't embarrassed by it. I chose. Well, I guess I was embarrassed, but I pushed through the embarrassment
Mhm.
and had courage. So what I want to say to the audience is your vision and dream is worth it.
Mm,
Start in the most incremental way. Find somebody who can help you get going. And
mm.
I haven't done any of these things alone. I train alone a lot, but there's
Uh-huh.
been specific people that have helped me
Wow.
realize all my dreams.
Wow. That's amazing. So, how did you was there something that, like, impacted your thinking to realize that you need someone with you or, like, to help you come along? Or how did that thought is it just make you feel better? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, this idea of, like, bringing someone along is seems foundational to kinda helping your growth. So, was there a time you learned something that really left that impact on your thinking or maybe another thinking that has brought you to this point?
Others did that for me. I didn't ask. I
Oh.
I I had too much pride or maybe too much insecurity to ask for help, and I had this sense that I could do it myself, and so
Mhm.
when I did it myself in those instances that I've shared, I'm like, "I can't, I quit." But there's this thing called grace and the
Yes.
kindness of others, and in
Mhm.
each of those instances, Deanne came along and said, "Hey, do you wanna go run?" And I said, "Yes." And she talked the
Mm.
whole time, and my brain was like, I gotta quit," but she kept talking and kept running, so I kept running too, and I'm like, "Oh, I did it."
Yes.
Similarly, Felicia is like,
Uh-huh.
Ginger, I'll swim with you. I won't lose you. I will not leave you in the open water. It doesn't
Oh, that's
matter how
good.
many times you have to stop. So the gift that these women and that my father and my mother gave me,
Mhm.
because I was the recipient, is what made me go, "Hey, I want to do this for others." And now I will ask for help.
Wow.
But it was a
Wow.
learned skill. Asking for help was a learned skill.
Yeah, I love that. I think, I do a lot of writing on authentic learning, and this is an interesting concept about, maybe part of authentic learning, and I want to ask this back to you, but this idea of asking for what you need. And a part of it is a lot of learning is passive, right? It's like it's passively provided, but what if we ask for what we need and we get it? So when you think about authentic learning and you're talking about this, what does it look like or what does it mean to you?
For me, authentic learning begins with curiosity. And Gina, I
Mm,
think that's something that you demonstrate really well. I can
mm,
see the growth and the success of your career and
mm,
how you're bringing others with you and how you've developed products and services that are super valuable and helpful in the transportation industry, the part that I'm aware of because that's my
mhm,
jam right now. And I love helping that. I love transportation.
mhm,
So it starts, I think, with that curiosity about what the individual is curious about.
mm,
And then listening to understand
mm,
to the people that know about the thing that you're curious about, that you'd like to take
mhm,
action on. And
mhm,
then finally, authentic learning is action. So I
mm,
think of it in those 3 buckets:
mm,
curiosity, listening to understand, and then action, because
mm,
leadership is action.
mm. I love
Growth is
that.
action.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for your kindness in mentioning Luma. And again, Ginger is always giving. She's always a servant leader and always willing to help. And, one thing that I think is really commendable is just, your willingness to do that. You live by the principles, right, that you've experienced through your journey. And I think that is just, I mean, it's really commendable. And for others that are out there, and I can talk from a neuroscience and scientific perspective of what happens. You talk about joy and doing these things of helping others to increase joy, and there's a correlation between releasing different neurotransmitters and how you feel and how it makes you feel and how you crave those feelings. If there's someone that came to you or said that they really lost their passion, you gave us some really great suggestions today. What lasting advice would you say to them? What would you tell them if they said, I really don't know how I'm going to go forward? What would you say?
Mm. I would say when you feel those roadblocks of discouragement, disillusionment, insecurity, it's not if, it's when, because it's the human
Mm,
condition. When you feel those, I want you to know that what's in you, the world really, really needs. The
mm,
world really, really needs the goodness that's inside of you, the unique perspective that you bring to the world. The world really needs that. And I
mm,
would encourage you first, I had to direct my mind into the right, good, healthy things when I felt the discouragement and the disillusionment. That's a practice. So
mm,
direct your mind towards good, healthy,
mm,
good, healthy identity, good, healthy thoughts. The little children's song, "Be careful, little eyes, what you see, be careful, little ears, what you hear."
mhm,
Vigilant. I would say be vigilant about what
mm,
you watch, what you listen to, because
mm,
what you put out into the world, the positive, that will bring
mm,
back that light and that encouragement to you. If you're missing something in your life that you're wanting, friendship, encouragement, go and do that for someone else. And that'll
mm.
become the fabric of your life. And one day you'll go, oh, that's coming back to me. And
Absolutely.
it's reciprocal. So
Yes.
the final thing that I would say is as I learned to find joy in the journey, that joy and struggle
Mm,
or joy and suffering are often commingled.
mm,
And by setting our mind on the things that we can have control over, that we can influence in a positive way in the midst of the struggle, helps us go through the struggle. And it does something special about authenticating the joy too. It makes
mhm,
the joy even richer. And so the things are commingled, they don't operate in isolation. So the greatest successes have big challenges in the mix of them too. And so wherever you find yourself today,
mm,
embrace what those obstacles are, because they're opportunities to find solutions. They're opportunities to expand the mountaintop, to either reach out to somebody ahead of you, to encourage the people that are beside you, or if you're climbing and you're doing really well, reach a hand back and bring somebody else up with you that's struggling, like my friend Deanne did, like my friend Felicia did, like my daddy and my mama did for me.
I love that. Absolutely. No matter where you are in your journey, there's always a place to help, right? I love that. Ginger, thank you for being here with me today. Is there anything else that you'd like to share? Definitely share with us where people can find you, where they can reach out and connect with you, and leave us with some awesome lasting words for this Thursday Junior of March.
You can find me on LinkedIn at Ginger Craddock. Gina will put my link, I assume,
Yep.
in the little comment note. So find me on LinkedIn, please. I high value authentic individuals. So I'm
Mm,
in a data industry where we use AI everywhere, artificial intelligence, we use that. but it never replaces the authentic
Mm.
individual. And so I would love for you to connect with me, DM me. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to hear who you're bringing with you. I'd love to hear who's helped expand the mountaintop for you. And I'm doing some research on that. And so, genuinely, I'd love for you to
Wow.
share that
Mhm.
with me, because it's not just my story that resonates, but it's
Mhm.
every human being that we have opportunity to connect with. You have something of value to give. Don't stop. Keep leaning in and taking that next step, because we need your voice and your contribution in the world.
Awesome. Thank you, Ginger.
Thank you.